Mississippi Slavery Research Group explored the history of enslaved people in North Mississippi with a Slavery on Campus history tour yesterday. Group member Lee McWhite found that slaves were deeply connected with the construction and maintenance of the university through her own personal research. The first stop on yesterday's tour was the Lyceum, since campus leaders celebrated the university's opening there 170 years ago. The tour concluded at Hillguard Cut, which is an area dug out by slaves so a railroad could be put in. The group said it plans to continue its research in hope of bringing more events to campus.
Ole Miss is hosting a STEM weekend, a two-day focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics this weekend. The event is sponsored by several STEM entities on campus, including the College of Liberal Arts, the Meek School, and the Office of the Chancellor. Activities are set to begin on Friday and will be hosted at various spots across campus, like the Physics of Baseball showcase at Swayze Field. The events are designed to promote the core values and benefits of science. The Rebels Against Sexual Assault held a Take Back the Night event in the Grove as the concluding event of the organization's Sexual Assault Awareness Month. The event takes place annually in over 30 countries and over 800 communities to promote awareness of sexual assault and help prevent it by educating students and community members of the resources available to survivors. Ole Miss encourages students to report their experiences to law enforcement officers or the Title IX office on campus. Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant signed a bill into law a few days ago. This allows those who illegally consumed alcohol to call for help without facing charges if they are in a medical emergency. Ole Miss already had a policy in place similar to this that stated if minors were drinking, they could call for help without facing charges. However, there are a few exceptions to the bill that law enforcement says students should be aware of, like the person that calls in must remain at the scene.
Journalism professor Dr. Samir Husney has once again brought a worldwide magazine event to the Meek School of Journalism this week. Veronica Mejia spent the day at the Act 8 conference and found out it's all about the students.
Dr. Samir Husney is what they call him, but he is better known as Mr. Magazine. He was the one to make this event happen. He said the only reason he does this is to benefit the students and wished more would utilize the opportunity.
Mainly it's putting the future industry leaders together in touch with the current industry leaders. That's why actually it breaks my heart to see an empty seat in those auditoriums when we have all these people coming.
The Act 8 experience brings the magazine industry leaders to Ole Miss to give students the opportunity to amplify, clarify, and testify the future of print in a digital age. The president of Long Hill Media shares his thoughts on this event.
Oh, it's super important because the students that we're speaking to and collaborating with are the future of the industry. So if we want to have a media industry, not even apart from magazines, if we want to have a media industry that's thriving and attracts young professionals who are going to make a difference in the decades to come, then you have to sort of expose them to this kind of these kinds of conversations. There is no other event like this. This is a golden opportunity for students to see what professional magazine media people are dealing with, thinking, how they view the business, how they view change that's occurring, and what they're doing about it.
If you missed the opportunity to see this event, you can find all of the speeches and the panel discussions of the guest speakers on the Ole Miss Journalism YouTube. Veronica Mejia, NewsWatch, Ole Miss.
The ACT conference continues tomorrow at the Meek School of Journalism in Farley Hall. Ole Miss is routinely mentioned as one of the most beautiful campuses around the country. Tristan Rupert has more on how landscaping services continues to maintain it during the cold spring season.
Amazing. Breathtaking. These are just a few of the words used around the country to describe the Grove. One of the biggest questions is how Ole Miss continues to improve upon its beauty.
I'm currently in the Grove, and behind me are many of the trees that people become accustomed to seeing in Oxford on game day. And with today being Arbor Day, the Ole Miss landscaping crew is adding another tree to the hallowed grounds of the Grove. And we were able to catch up with Jeff McManus earlier today to discuss his role in the planting of this tree.
Part of what we do is we're part of the first impression that's made to prospective students. So we want them to come here and go, wow, I want to go to school here.
Many gathered to witness the planting of the tree. This included second-year grad student Adam Sullivan.
I saw the event advertised, and I thought it was a really great opportunity to engage with the Office of Sustainability on campus, as well as be able to help put a new tree on campus. I thought that's a lot of fun.
In order to promote Arbor Day here on campus, trees were given out to the attendees at the end of the presentation. Tristan Rupert, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
The new tree is planted in the grove across from Lamar and Farley Hall. Double, toll, and trouble. There could be some trouble on the Ole Miss people this weekend.
But only if people don't watch their tongues.
The Ole Miss Theater will perform Shakespeare's tragedy Macbeth this weekend at the Ford Center. The premiere will open at 7:30 p.m. this Friday, but the show will continue throughout the weekend. For more information about ticket purchases and times, visit the Ole Miss box office website. But audiences, beware. The nerves are running high, especially since everyone is on edge about a certain curse. I spoke with the cast members about their thoughts on the superstition.
Yes, I do know about it. Yes, I am a firm believer in it. If you say Macbeth in the theater, period, it doesn't matter if you're on stage or backstage or wherever you are, you have to run outside of the theater and then spin around 3 times, spit over your left or right shoulder. I think you just spit over your shoulder. Say the dirtiest curse word or word you know, and then you have to be invited back into the theater.
I mean, I don't personally believe in the Macbeth curse. I know that weird things have happened.
And I believe in it personally.
No.
For sure. It is living and it is real.
I said it backstage during Tooth Puller, and on my way onto stage, one of my castmates slammed the door of the set behind, and it just hit me right on the face, and I started bleeding on stage.
Because anytime that we do say it, usually something ends up going wrong, like, immediately. Even if it's like something small, like a set piece, like falling or something breaking or someone like hurting themselves, it like usually almost always happens.
Being on the costume crew, 2 other costumers, a designer and then our shop manager, have both been injured, and I hurt my knee yesterday, so we're seeing some little things happen, so hopefully nothing huge will happen.
It is fun to like be like, oh, the Scottish play or McBee or whatever people want to call it, just so everyone's on their toes and like doesn't want to, in case it's a real thing.
But audiences shouldn't be afraid. Come see our show.
This Scottish curse is a theatrical superstition where if you say the name inside a theater, some disaster will occur. Now, many believe there are some weird superstitions that follow saying Macbeth. Well, I guess you just never know. Alexandra Morris, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
We have more NewsWatch coming up.
But first, Brian Bariza has your first look at the current conditions.
Good afternoon, Rebels. I'm Brian Barisa with your weather headlines. We're going to be seeing some spring-like temperatures for the next week, but again, we're going to see thunderstorms this weekend that are also going to bring in some chilly low temperatures. Looking at our current radar, you can see that it's pretty clear over Oxford. There's really not anything coming right now, but stay tuned for my extended forecast tonight on Stormwatch.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Yes, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe could face criminal charges associated with lying to internal investigators. The Justice Department's Inspector General referred the findings to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington last week. The IG issued a report stating that McCabe was not completely honest on 4 occasions during a discussion about a Wall Street Journal article. The article talked about the FBI Clinton Foundation investigation. McCabe was not authorized to disclose the investigation since it was not in the public interest. Although leaking information is not a crime, lying to federal investigators is. McCabe's team declined to comment on the topic. President Trump's personal lawyer Michael Cohen has dropped libel lawsuits against Fusion GPS, a political research firm, and BuzzFeed News. The lawsuits are regarding the production and publication of an infamous dossier on President Trump and Russia. The dossier was prepared by Fusion and published by BuzzFeed. By dropping the lawsuits, Cohen will avoid turning over information about himself to the companies. BuzzFeed released a statement in response saying, in part, if there's one thing Democrats and Republicans agree on today, it's that the dossier was an important part of the government's investigation into potential collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Today's news suggests that Donald Trump's personal lawyer no longer thinks an attack on the free press is worth his time. The investigation into what happened to the left engine on the Southwest Flight 1380 that resulted in the death of Jennifer Reardon is going, as investigators look for some of the engine's missing internal parts, and one Texas firefighter who helped try and save Reardon recounts the terrifying incident.
I felt the calling to get up and do something, stand up and act.
Andrew Needham is a firefighter who was on Southwest Flight 1380 and helped pull one of his fellow passengers back inside the plane. When their left engine broke mid-air, an object burst through a window and sucked Jennifer Reardon toward the hole where the window used to be.
I feel for her family. I feel for her 2 kids, her husband, the community that she lived in.
And as the healing process continues, so too does the investigation into what exactly happened. The National Transportation Safety Board says a preliminary look at the engine shows one of its 24 fan blades was missing, that there was evidence of metal fatigue where the blade attached to the engine hub and a separate fracture further down that same blade.
It appears that the fatigue fracture was the initiating event, which later caused that secondary failure.
The Federal Aviation Administration says they will be issuing a directive that will include the specific engine model affected in this flight, requiring an ultrasonic inspection of fan blades when they reach a certain number of takeoffs and landings. Any blades that fail the inspection will have to be replaced. NTSB investigators are still tracking down evidence from the plane and will examine all of the engine and blade components at the materials lab in Washington, D.C. Southwest Flight 1380 was flying into Dallas from New York and made that emergency landing in Philadelphia on Tuesday.
North Korea has dropped its long-held demand that America should withdraw their forces from South Korea. The United States has about 28,000 troops in South Korea, but South Korean President Moon Jae-in said that Kim is willing to give up his demands as a precondition for discussion of ridding the Korean Peninsula of nuclear forces. The concession is coming after Donald Trump announced Wednesday that he would be willing to leave a highly anticipated summit meeting with Kim if it fell short of expectations. A warning from geologists about a dangerous fault line in California is coming in this morning. If the fault lines move, it could result in major damage.
It runs down the East Bay, where hundreds of thousands of people live. And the Hayward Fault Line, according to the groundbreaking USGS study, is even more dangerous than the San Andreas.
It's coming. It's not if, it's when.
The USGS study imagines a 7.0 quake striking a 52-mile stretch of the Hayward Fault and estimates the quake would kill 800 people and injure 18,000 more.
The fault continuously creeps, which also helps to sort of relieve the strain or the stress on the fault.
USGS says a major quake, magnitude 6.7 or higher, occurs about every 150 years along the Hayward Fault. The last one happened in 1868, destroying downtown Hayward. In the report scenario, if the big one happened today along the Hayward Fault, it would spark 400 fires, require more than 20,000 rescues, and displace more than 100,000 people. Devastation that could, in part, be prevented.
Prepare yourself to know that we live in earthquake country, to have a plan, to know that when shaking occurs, to drop, cover, and hold on first, not necessarily to just run outside, get under a desk.
The last time California experienced a 7.0 magnitude earthquake was the Baja earthquake back in 2010.
The sun is out and I am loving it. Hopefully it stays this warm all weekend and hopefully into next week.
Brian Barisa will let us know in his extended forecast coming up next on Stormwatch.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Good evening, Oxford. Currently it is 56 degrees, sunny with light winds coming from the north and no chance of rain. Looking at our satellite image, you can see there's really nothing over Mississippi right now, but you can see there are some clouds that are on the way in. If you look at our current temperatures, you can see South Haven, Oxford, and Holly Springs all at 56 degrees, Corinth at 57 degrees, and Tupelo, the warmest, at 59 degrees. Looking at tomorrow's temperatures, South Haven and Holly Springs will be 67, Oxford and Corinth at 68, and Tupelo will be the warmest again at 70 degrees. Looking at tonight's forecast, it'll be 38 degrees, cool and clear, with moderate winds from the north and still no chance of rain, but you still might want to bring a jacket if you're going out tonight. Tomorrow, on the other hand, nice and warm, 68 degrees and sunny. It'll be 10 to 15 mile an hour winds from the east and no chance of rain. Looking at our 5-day forecast, Saturday 71 degrees, Sunday 64 degrees, Monday 65, Tuesday 66, and Wednesday 68, with rain coming in on Sunday and not really looking to leave until Tuesday.
Thanks, Brian. Both the softball and baseball teams were in full action last night, but were they able to secure victories?
And the National Predators were looking to get closer to the second round last night, but could they get it done? Find out next.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I bought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
What's happening, Rebel Nation? I'm Jason Price, and this is Sports Watch. 3-0. That's how many wins the 7th-ranked Rebel baseball team has after stomping Arkansas State last night 10-3. Ole Miss came out swinging early, making the score 7-1 after only 2 innings. We have Gray Kessinger and Thomas Dillard to thank for the hot start because they each had a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 2nd inning. On the defensive side, freshman pitcher Jordan Fowler picked up his 4th win of the season by keeping the Red Wolves stumped at the plate all night. Last night's win puts the Rebels' midweek record at a perfect 11-0. The baseball players weren't the only ones slugging last night as the Rebels softball team ran over Louisiana Monroe 7-0. Ole Miss was popping off both on offense and defense last night, with the team hitting 5 doubles and allowing the Warhawks just 1 hit all game. Nothing was getting past that Landshark defense as a ULM base runner never made it past second base. The team will now hit the road to El Paso, Texas to face off against UTEP tomorrow and Saturday. Mother Nature has not been friendly to the Major League Baseball world this season, and as a result, 25 games has been postponed so far. To put that in perspective, 25 games were canceled throughout the entire 2016 MLB season. This sparks the argument of whether or not the season should be shortened and start in May. Chicago Cubs first baseman Anthony Rizzo says that he isn't a fan of playing in the cold and that he is all for shortening the season. Starting the season later could also increase fan attendance since no one wants to watch baseball in 30-degree weather. Last night, the National Predators took on the Colorado Avalanche in Game 4 of the first-round series. If you're a Preds fan, you could not have been happier with how the game started as Nashville flaunted a 3-0 lead after the first 2 periods. But even if you have the best record in the Western Conference, you still have to play 3 periods. The Avalanche made a run in the 3rd period, scoring 2 goals and barely missing the tying goal with 2 minutes left. The Preds come out with the win and have a chance to end the series tomorrow when it shifts back to Nashville for Game 5. Well, that's all we got for sports. Be sure to follow us at NewsWatch_UM on Twitter for all of your favorite Ole Miss updates. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Jason. And start saving your old toys. They could be made into something unexpected.
Stay tuned. There's more NewsWatch when we return.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are distinguished as a Carnegie R1 top 2.5% research institution. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
One of the largest toy makers in the world is doing some good for the environment. Hasbro is launching a toy recycling program. The company wants to transform your donated toys into material used to make playgrounds, park benches, and flower pots, among other things.
It's partnering with recycling company TerraCycle, and the process is simple for you to participate. Just visit HasbroToyRecycling.com to sign up, and you'll get a free shipping label for your package. The program will be tested in the United States, and if successful, will expand worldwide.
Well, guys, I think I still have some old toys laying around that I could donate.
Oh, I know. I've got some buckets of Legos back at my house.
What about you?
I've definitely got my fair share that I could recycle.
Well, I mean, recycling is good, but how do you think the weather is going to be this weekend?
This weekend, Saturday, it's going to be a little bit better than Sunday. I'm expecting rain on Sunday, but no matter what, I'm expecting showers in Swayze.
Thank you. That's all we have for tonight. Thank you for tuning in to NewsWatch Ole Miss. I'm Annie Mapp.
Be sure to catch us here again on air at 5 and on our Facebook live stream. You can also find our show on hottytoddy.com. I'm Billy Sherman. Thank you and good night.